Yeah, Darabim is saying one commenter claimed that you should only ever use logic to determine what you like, which is absolutely ridiculous. It shows a... Oh, I accidentally walked into the ship again. Darabim is asking, do you consider wait for it mechanics different from proper timing mechanics? Um, yeah, I do. But it's like a really subtle difference. And you know what? I think I'm gonna go after the ending here. So I don't feel like stopping. So here we go. But anyway, yeah, the difference between proper timing mechanics and a wait for it mechanic is the amount of time you have to wait. Okay, a proper timing mechanic is you have the moment of anticipation where you're sitting there and you're waiting for that right moment, and then bam, you're in it, and then you move on to the next thing, and then you're waiting, and then bam, you're in it. And you don't get pulled out of that, you don't get pulled out of anticipation into patience or lack of patience. The wait for it mechanic is a little bit different. The wait for it mechanic doesn't feel like you're getting ready to do something. It feels like the game is telling you to stop. Okay, hold on a second. And now you're holding on a second, and then it comes back. And, you know, it's very subjective. You know, I think different people have a different tolerance for it. It also matters where you do it in the game. Like, if you have this great platforming sequence, and then, like, in the middle of it, all of a sudden you ask the person to stop and wait, and then continue the great platforming sequence, yeah, that's a wait for it mechanic at that point, because you just stopped them in the middle of what they were doing. Meanwhile, so we have gathered all 12 of the Chozo artifacts and brought them to the temple that they used to contain the Phazon meteor that had the strange Phazon-producing life form in it. Oh, remember this guy? Meta Ridley. And the music is actually a remix of Ridley's boss theme from Super Metroid. It's actually not just Ridley's boss theme. It was actually Ridley's boss theme, Dragon's boss theme, and the escape from the space station. So the first thing we'll do is make sure we get a scan on Meta Ridley. I like, you know, he's covered in completely indestructible armor except for his chest. For whatever reason, that armor is just a little bit thicker. You know, because otherwise it's not up to code if he doesn't have a weak point. So Meta Ridley has a number of different attacks, and sure enough, he's got a weak point right in the middle of his chest. It's actually a little bit easier to hit him with the missiles, but I'm trying to conserve the missiles for later on in the fight. I really don't need to, but... and then after a minute, after you do enough damage to him, he'll fly off and do kind of this bombing run. And then he'll reappear. He always reappears in approximately the same place. So if you know where he's going to reappear, you can just kind of make sure you're facing it. And then once he dives off into the distance, you can actually hit him, but it's really hard to do. Yeah, Demystics is saying, are the artifacts required? And the answer is yes. But the game doesn't actually tell you they're required until the very end of the game. So, after you've done enough damage to Ridley, he comes down here and starts smashing up the place. He's also got that wave stomp thing. And you can actually hit, if you aim well, you can hit him under, you know, you can hit the weak point in his stomach. Darabim is saying this is yet another fine example of the hero, you know, unlocking the door that the villain wanted unlocked. And yes it is, but also no. It's not quite, because the thing is, like, the Chozo could not defeat the creature that came in the Phazon meteor. So they always intended for this to eventually be unlocked. And they wanted Samus to do it. Because they knew she could defeat the creature. Because the creature in the heart of it is actually generating the Phazon. This fight kind of goes on for a long time. So it's kind of like Super Mario the Thousand Year Door also, in that the story at least gave an excuse for why you couldn't just leave the door closed and walk away. Like, it always kind of bothered me in Zelda Ocarina of Time that, like, the best solution to the whole problem was just to turn off the game and not play it. Because then Ganondorf would never get into the Golden Realm, he would never get his hands on the Triforce. And nothing else would ever happen. Now, this boss fight does change in a moment. You get Ridley down to pretty low. Mad Adventure is saying, is this the Ridley that you followed here? And the answer is yes. This is the Ridley that you followed here. The story is that after Ridley was defeated in Metroid, the Space Pirates remains and cybernetically rebuilt him into Meta Ridley. Which kind of does, if you... Oh, okay, and now the fight changes. So now his wings burn away. And Mad Adventure is saying, when was he changed? Yeah, see, and this is where the whole argument about where this game falls in the canon happens. Whoops. I turned on the wrong weapon. Damn it. Okay. So, let me talk a little bit about what's happening with the fight, and then I'll talk about Ridley's story. So at this point in the game, or at this point in the fight, you now have to stun Ridley by putting bullets in his mouth, by landing shots directly in his mouth. And then when you stun him, he will briefly expose his chest plate so that you can get off a shot. Now, I like to do this with the power beam and the super missiles, because the super missiles do a lot of damage. But the problem is you just barely have enough time when he exposes his chest to charge and fire a super missile. And the animation that Ridley does doesn't quite sync up with it. So he looks like he's still giving you a moment to fire, and he becomes invincible to the shot. Which is what happened the first time. I'm also really, really crappy at jumping over the... Alright, I got it in there. I like that animation. It looks like he's having a heart attack. In retro... Ooh, okay. That's a highly damaging attack, and you have to kind of release the shot in his mouth pretty early to get it to stop it. Alright, come on, come on. Give me a shot. Warm up your charge. Damn it, I missed it. Overshot. I actually find this fight a lot easier with the Wii controls, though at this... I'm not showing it anymore. I might switch to the, he will always do 3 stomps in a row. Not that that helps me dodge them. Alright, he's just about done. Ah, and I missed him again with that. See, this fight is actually really deceptive because that last little sliver of his... The last little sliver of his hit points, that last fifth of his hit points he had when he lost his wings, takes so long to get rid of. And if you get behind him, he does that tail sweep. Fire, fire! There we go. Yeah, Dodge Pong is saying you can also dodge to get out of the way of the charge. I just don't have the reaction time for it, especially because I'm trying to shoot him in the mouth when he warms up his dodge. So I end up actually taking the dodge. Demystics is asking, his chest is yellow, so you use the yellow gun. No, it's not. I use the yellow gun because I like to use the super missiles to do a lot of damage on him. Some people use the plasma beam because it fires very quickly. You know, but you have that choice. All right, and now the way to the phazon, or the way to the impact crater is open, and now the end of the game. Yeah, Mad Adventurer says, nice of the Chozo to wait until you did all the hard work. Not to mention the fact that the ghosts of the Chozo have actually been attacking me through the whole game. Ah, okay, yeah. I panicked, I thought the save point wasn't down here. So now we are in the impact crater. Basically the heart of the Phazon meteor that struck this planet. And hunting for the creature at the heart of this all, which is Metroid Prime, which is kind of weird in itself. And so now, there is a unique creature down here. These little things called Lumagex. This is why I said that there were four scans that I would need after the end. Because there's Meta Ridley, there's the Lumagex, and then there's 2 forms of the final boss. Now there's also this red Phazon down here. And this kind of where I said that the Phazon suit is kind of irrelevant, because the red Phazon will damage you despite the fact that you have the Phazon suit. And now here we face the Fission Metroids, which we had already run into down in the Phazon mines. And I find that it's actually easier just to kind of blaze your way through this area as quickly as you can, rather than deal with them, because they infinitely respawn, they split into 2, and in the time that you're engaging them, they give another one a chance to spawn somewhere. So if you can handle the platforming at a good clip, and use the mini-map to keep track of where the Metroids are so that they don't ram you off the platform, you can deal with it. Alternatively, you can use power bombs to kill them immediately. I like to save my power bombs for the final boss though. I also like the fact that there's like this fish tank down here. I don't know what the hell is going on with that. And now at this point, at the halfway point, the game spawns 2 fission Metroids at a time. And I'm gonna drop... Come over here. There we go. Just to clear the path ahead. Damn it. So from this point forward, the game, there will almost always be 2 Metroids on screen at a time. And if you stop to deal with them for too long, then, you know, as you're dealing with them, 2 more will appear. So again, just try to keep moving and be aware of where the Metroids are so that they don't fuck up your platforming, and get the hell through here. Out of my way. You would have to be in the door. Fun fact, if you try to take a Metroid through a door, it will explode. We are, Chad is asking... Whoops, I got caught on the underside of the... On the underside of the rail. Whoops. That's funny. We are at 2 scans left. They are for the 2 final forms of the boss Metroid Prime. I used to hate this spot, but then playing through Echoes and seeing what it does with the freaking spider ball. It's a pain in the ass. Yeah, I lost that sentence. So now we are at the culmination of the game. This is the final boss, Metroid Prime. It piggybacked on the... Well, see, things aren't entirely clear, I don't think, about where this creature came from and how it relates to the whole Metroid hierarchy. Hey, come back here. Had to switch to third person just so that we could see how badass Samus is. It is susceptible only to certain weapons for brief periods. And fortunately, it also changes color based on its susceptibility. Which is, of course, an evolutionary advantage, you know, something that advertises its physical its weaknesses. So Metroid Prime shifts between 4 different colors. Orange, red, purple, and white. And it is vulnerable to... It is vulnerable to each of the weapons and, you know, the appropriate weapons. It is also vulnerable to the charge-up versions of each weapon. So I kind of always am hoping for purple or orange, because both the Wave Buster and do a lot of damage. And then you have to chase it down into the next cavern and deal with it again. And in this cavern, after you've stunned it with enough damage, it will dash across the room. And you can hide in these furrows in the floor. I hate when it changes to the white one. The rate of fire on this thing is so slow. And I don't like to waste the missiles on the ice spreader. And it starts to develop these new attacks. Oh, I thought it was gonna run. Its attacks change. I'm having trouble talking about its attacks. But its attacks change based on its color, so you can see that it unleashes that super hot beam when it's weak to plasma. Damn it, ice again. The freezing beam. Alright, we'll launch an ice spreader at it. And when it drops those... Damn it. When it launches those weird spinny balls, you can destroy them. Pulling me. There we go. Did it launch ice even though it was orange? See, I like the super missile because one... Because one super missile is enough to Oh, I thought I managed to get between its legs, but no, huh? Yeah. I'm not sweating the damage too much. Now it starts changing a little bit more rapidly. Alright, and there we go. Deribim says, I imagine this fight would have been really tough if you hadn't gotten the weapon swapping down. Yeah, if I was trying to swap my visor after every fight, yes. Yeah, Tom Lube is pointing out that the ice spreader does a lot of damage, and yes, I am aware of that. I just have trouble hitting with it. I'm less comfortable with it. And now this is the final form of Metroid Prime. You know, because everything's got to have a last form. And this also should be 100% scans. So it is completely invulnerable to all weapons except Phazon. But fortunately, your suit has the ability to absorb Phazon from the environment and fire it in the form of a beam which you previously had no idea about. Metroid Prime actually doesn't have too many different attacks. He's got the ramming attack, he's got the, that wave attack, and then he drops a pool of Phazon that generates Metroids. And the thing is, what you have to do is stand in the pool and then locate Metroid Prime. Whoop, I'm not quite in the pool. And while you are standing in the pool of Phazon, your beam goes into hyper mode until the beam is gone. Complicating this is the fact that Metroid Prime becomes invisible to your standard visor. He only becomes visible to one visor at a time. And each time he generates the Phazon, he switches which visor he can be seen with. So you have to rapidly switch visors, locate him, and plow into him with the Hyper Beam. Each time he generates a pool of Phazon, he also generates... the pool of Phazon spews out some Metroids of various different types. The first time it's just standard Metroids, then he starts doing fusion Metroids. I think he also spews out Hunter Metroids at some point in there. I try to... Yeah, there's a Hunter. I use the power bombs to rid myself of the Metroids. And I try to keep in between his attack cycles, even if he's not visible, I keep myself in the standard visor so that because it's easier to spot the pool of Phazon forming. You can double jump over the waves, and if you don't destroy the Metroids that he generates, those orange waves of energy will destroy them. So he's going to generate another pool of Phazon and a couple of Hunter Metroids. Then we'll Power Bomb do the work. And meanwhile... And then we'll go back into normal mode. He drops pickups periodically. I'm not sure whether he's dropping the pickups or the Metroids are dropping the pickups. But I guess I really don't need to be charging my weapon at this point. Is that... No, he didn't. He didn't drop that pool of Phazon. It's just... Give me a pool of Phazon. Come on. What? Missiles low. I have 50 missiles left. In what world is having 50 high explosives low? Ah, there we go. And now he started dropping fission Metroids, which are, of course, the biggest pain in the ass. Where? Oh. Damn it. I had him. If you take too long, the pool will eventually dissolve on its own. And I just try to keep picking up the health pickups that he drops, and... You can actually use his sound cues to tell when he's going to attack. And he's visible to the normal... Well, alright, we need one more pool of Phazon, and that should finish him off. Now... I'm just pissing him off now. Now the question I have is, why is he a Metroid? I mean, end of the day, like, the Metroids were native to planet SR-388. The meteor comes from what we learn later is planet Phase. Uh-oh, I'm not in the pool. Uh-oh. I lost the pool. There's the pool. And there we go. Yeah. Mad Adventurer says, how long does it take you to work out to stand in the pool to make things work? It is extremely not obvious. I will cop to that. Yeah, the first time I did it, I got killed 2 or 3 times before I figured out the trick. And the only help that you get is by noticing the that it says hyper beam, or hyper mode, when you stand in the beam, or when you stand in the pool. Funny thing also, like, usually a Metroid game will make you escape from this yourself in the final, make you do an escape sequence. And the game just decided not to. I guess part of the reason is because, it really is just an elevator ride at that point. Darabim says, where'd your Phazon suit go? Yeah, that's interesting. And because I got 100% completion, we're going to see in the end what happened with the Phazon suit. But Metroid Prime, because it feeds off of Phazon as well as generating Phazon for reasons, it consumed the suit off me as it died. And now, there is a post-credit sequence that kind of makes that clear. Shows what happens. So, in the end, that's Metroid Prime. I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, I've been talking about it for, 11 or 12 hours straight. So there's really not much left to say about the game. I absolutely love it. I think despite its flaws, it is by no means a perfect game. It has some definite weaknesses. Demistic says, now you fight Sumas, which is Samus spelled backwards, and don't spoilers. Darabim says, nice double meaning there. Metroid Prime, the boss defeated. Metroid Prime, the game defeated. Yeah. It's, yeah, I don't know. I'm having a lot of trouble figuring out anything to wrap up with, other than, the game, it makes some mistakes. It is, I think, a really good example in the end of very, very good level design. It's not quite Super Metroid realms of level design, but I think it's definitely a worthy successor to the Metroid title. It's interesting because it was developed concurrently with Metroid Fusion. But Metroid Fusion was being designed by the original, members of the original Metroid team, and was designed by the Japanese team, while Metroid Prime was given over to Retro Studios here in America. And it's kind of interesting if you look at the two games and sort of compare and contrast what those two games do and how they choose to tell their stories, because Metroid Fusion is much more linear, much more on rails, and and much more guided. It's a guided experience, really, and there is an NPC, kind of driving you through the whole story, whereas in this game, it's very true to the original Metroid spirit of, well, here you go, you're dropped on the planet alone with just a vague sense of what your goal is, and explore until you make it happen. So, it's a combination. So, I mean, I don't want to draw any cultural comparisons, because I do not have the expertise to do that. But I think it does say something about personal individual empowerment versus authority. Of course, I could just be talking out of my ass, but again, when we look at Metroid Other M, Oh, here we go. So this is the ending sequence. Which is just as well, because I don't want to talk about Metroid Other M anyway. And then, of course, the perfect reward for beating the game is you can go ahead and beat it again, only harder. And then when we hit A to accept... Dun, dun, dun! Yeah, so that's 100% items, 100% scans. Finally done it. It'll replace my 100% items, 99% scans because of those stupid ice burrowers and elite pirates and all that, those one-off things that I have missed. But that's Metroid Prime, and that's done with, and I don't know, I'm still toying with what I'm going to come back with next week. I might just go ahead and do Echoes to continue the story. Though Echoes I will probably be a lot less complimentary about, like I said. But anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks everybody who watched through the whole thing, or watched the whole thing on YouTube. I hope you've enjoyed it. Had a lot of interesting conversations. Mad Adventure is saying put it away and never ever play it again. No, I can't do that. This is one of those games that I have to play again every few years. Just because I think it is really well done. It's kind of like every so often I'll break out all the Mega Man games and just go through them the first 6, one after the